Okay. Good evening. Welcome to this first round of this tournament. Today we have as a proposition team I Dettori and as a opposition team the Debeatles. And the judges for today are me, Ludovica Gallo.
I'll be also judging this debate. I'm Aurora. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Una, the third judge. Best of luck, everybody.
Okay, the motion for today is this house considers memes as a form of art. So if everyone is ready, I give the floor to the first speaker of the proposition team.
Okay, thank you. I'm Sofia Bonfai. I'm the first speaker of the proposition team, and will state that this house considers memes as a form of art. And I'll explain that memes are the direct evolution of satirical and comical critics of current events. Beatrice said that will be the second speaker, and she'll explain that memes are the demonstration that art is progressing and is becoming more accessible to everyone. And Camilla Nappi will rebut the argumentation of the opposition team. So first of all, I'd like to tell you the definition of the word meme from the Urban Dictionary, which states that memes are a lifestyle in art used by teens and adults, and which with art being, by the definition given by the Oxford Dictionary, the use of the imagination to express ideas or feeling, particularly in painting, drawings, or sculpture. Given this definition, we believe that memes are the evolution of the satirical and comical critics of the current events. From the start of the art, from when humans started doing art, we can see that Greek, Latin people have always used art to express their feeling. And with art, including theater, painting, sculpture, literature, and moreover. And talking about Greek and Latins, we say that their comedies have always been a way and are to critique their world. So their actual current events. And from this comedy then evolved into other comics. We can talk about historic comics during the World War I and the World War II, which are, we could say, there are like memes that talk about what's happening, and of course in a fun way, and where people would get informed in the events of the war. So then we can also say that the memes are also the evolution of the comics that we can read nowadays, even if they are a faster way to read them, to get the information. The main point, so it's that they tell us more, they tell us the maybe political ideas, the opinion of other people, and of course they represent the freedom of doing that, of speaking, of express our feelings, our opinions in a fast and a fun way, which is very important in our society, which is a very fast society where that needs immediate things to think about. And we know that memes are also used by political figures, by public figures, and also represent the public and political figures. And for example, we could say that the memes were used by the Democratic Party of the USA during the election to do some propaganda. So they were a way to express their idea, their opinion, and to state what they wanted to do, which we can see also in all social media in other ways that are not maybe political, but also fun, just to express what you think about something. So yes, it's a critic of it can be a critic of the current events, and it's very important that it's they exist. Their existence is very important because it's a form of art that can it's accessible to everyone. So I think I demonstrate that the memes are the direct evolution of satirical and comical critics of current events.
Okay, thank you for your speech. Your speech is 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Okay.
My speech will start in...
1 second, only 1 second, when the other judges are ready. Okay. Okay.
My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. If we start considering memes as a form of art, we are going to devalue the concept of art itself. Because side opposition cannot live in a world like this. We refute the motion. Hi everybody, I'm the first speaker of the opposition of the motion that has already been stated beforehand. You can expect a few things from my speech: a first part of rebuttal, a second part of counterframing, and a third construction of the first argument. So let's start by the rebuttal. First of all, I want to point out the fact that with all the talk about Greek and Latin art, they kind of steered away from the context of the debate. And I don't really agree with their definition of meme. They define meme by a form of art used by the people. I think that meme are a form of satirical making fun of something, not a real form of art. Now let's start with the counterframing. What is the problem here? So as I said before, memes are just a way to make fun of something. Now I'm not saying that comedy cannot be classified as a form of art, but the lack of creativity and the memes simply not being able to stimulate any kind of critical thinking in the one who looks at this form of art is just not enough to make it classifiable under the umbrella of art expression. Now, considering memes as forms of art would contribute to the diminishing of current forms of art. This would deteriorate the concept of art itself. So that's catastrophic to an ever-growing community, which will be belittled by the inclusion of said things in the status quo. Art is already a complex market, which has already received backlash for attributing insane values to fairly lazily made works. So, there's already some kind of tension in the art community because monetary value has been attributed to works that cannot be truly considered art. So, making memes an even remote part of art would not only contribute to the complete deterioration of art as a concept, as I said before, but it would just stagnate and take over the current market. So memes are most definitely a way to express something, but the lack of the human mind itself, because while there's not a total absence of human thought behind the creation of a meme, I just cannot say that there is a sufficient amount of creative thought behind a meme, since the main reason for why a meme is created is because we want to make people laugh, not communicate feelings or anything else. So let's talk about the stakeholders. These are the young people, the new generations who mostly use social media. These are the main consumers of of memes. These are subjected to the influence of this specific form of content, which is in fact a problem because it can shift the cultural forces, the cultural focus towards superficial phenomena. So superficial memes, this form of low quality media that is not supposed to actually convey something meaningful, can distract mainly the youth from other forms of art, which need more attention. The constant repetition of the same stuff with no meaning, so just the same image pulled by a website and put onto a blank canvas with a text attached, cannot be defined as art, since it lacks any kind of creative meaning behind it. So other stakeholders are the people who consume the art, those who create the art, so the artists, who are, I think, the most affected people by this. I would personally feel insulted if a meme would be considered on the same level as one of my sculptures, paintings, or some of my music. And the concept, as I said many times before, the concept of art in general. So the word, the community of artists and art appreciators. Now, I said VI.
Why do you think it's your opinion that has to say what's a form of art and what isn't?
So this is simply not my opinion. So basically, you can just objectively say that an image with a humorous line on top of it cannot be put on the same level as a sculpture, because it does not simply convey anything. It's the same thing as a joke made with your friends. It simply does not mean anything important. Okay, it makes you laugh, but it doesn't mean it. So let's go over to the assertions. So I want to display our following assertion, the one that will be presented by my teammate, Simone Savarese. Imputing memes in artist culture means people would be stuck in the same fast-paced routine that today's content is in. He will talk about it later. Now, my argumentation. Defining memes art would imply the eventual dilution of art itself. If we call memes art, we dilute the meaning of art, making anything that amuses people a masterpiece. My friend could make a joke and simply, I could simply say that's a masterpiece. That's the same thing as a meme. While a meme is amusing, we don't want this to stagnate and pollute the world of what is now considered art, such as sculpture, drawing, painting, designing, dressmaking, etc. Now, this would happen because of the ability of any ordinary person to mass produce any sort of meme, which when imputed in a rapidly expanding art world will lead to a massive echo chamber of what the proposition defines art. But we define it as a plague that is slowly going to deteriorate the art world as we know it. This is bad because art is insanely important to the development of a cohesive society. Calling them art economize the thoughtless or offensive content as culture, confusing younger generation about what artistic value really means. I rest my case.
Okay. Thank you. Your speech is 7 minutes and 46 seconds. Okay. Okay, so teacher.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
My speech will start in 1, 2, 3. Good morning. My name is Beatrice Zedda, and I'm the second speaker of the proposition team. And today I'm going to demonstrate that memes are the demonstration that art is progressing and is becoming more accessible. But first, I like to rebut to what the first speaker of the opposition team said. First of all, it stated that if we consider memes hard, we will devalue the concept of art, letting deteriorate the word hard as we know it. But hard team couldn't disagree more. First of all, we don't agree on the definition of the word memes, since like the definition of the word meme is a lifestyle and art. So the definition of meme is that it is a form of art, first of all. And we also don't agree to define it as a simple joke, because meme is so much more. We're devaluing the meaning and the concept of a meme itself, because they're not just like something to laugh at. We've seen this in history already, because some form of arts like comics were considered like childish just because they could be fun. But let's say art has a ton of purposes, and being fun can be one of those. And it's also not true that you don't like it doesn't stimulate any critical thinking. Just because it's a joke that can be easy to understand, it doesn't mean that you don't have to process the joke and actually try to understand what it says. Is immediate and it's effective, an effective form of art, because it is immediate, but it doesn't mean that it's stupid or that it's just a joke. It isn't just a joke. You have to understand it. And also, he said that the stakeholders are young people who are on social media and are exposed to those sort of content, so memes. And also, he said that it can shift cultural focus to this superficial phenomenon, but that is not true, because meme can also be a way to inform people on problems of our society. Because just because something is fun, like in a comedy, in a like a satirical way, it doesn't mean that it can't hide a deeper meaning, because it can. And that's the point. That's why memes are so important, because even though they can make you laugh, they also make you reflect on the deeper meaning behind them. And that's where the critical thinking occurs, and that's why they're so important. And some people still devaluate them. They can't appreciate them yet. And this happened for some forms of art, as we said before. But maybe in the future, people will be able to accept them as a form of art as they are, because like they will study them. To us, this seems just as joke, because we live in a society in which we're surrounded by memes, so we don't realize how effective they are in making us learn about things like our reality. And I would like to continue to defend this idea through my speech. In fact, in our society, as Sophia, the first speaker, said, memes have become an efficient form of art to express opinions, feelings of different ways. And the reason why they're so efficient is because they are accessible to a large part of the population. Let's think about social media. How many times have we opened TikTok? We open TikTok or Instagram, and we saw memes. We didn't even realize they were memes, but they actually had a deeper meaning behind them. Let's think about people in Palestine. who are living a difficult situation, and sometimes they make videos like laughing about their situation, trying to make it a meme to engage with people, to the way they can gain money from that content. Okay, so there's like, they can be useful. It never happened before that people, even in wartime, had the opportunity to use, like, to ironize about their own difficult situation and try to make like a way of living out of it. It never happened before, and it's beautiful. I think it's one of the deepest meaning behind it. But also, let's say, some, I think, has, like, the team line of the opposition team states that memes are just like some stupid or childish photos, videos, sticker, but they are not. They have like this kind of success because they are a brilliant way to express emotion, ideas, concept that are meaningful and delicate, but they do it in a very efficient way and a performative way also. And of course, as we said, some of them are just made for fun, but heart has always been that too. Let's be honest, heart is not like, it doesn't need to have a very deep meaning behind it. Heart has many purposes, and brighten up people's day has always been one of them too. So we don't have to devaluate memes just because some of them can make you laugh. It's beautiful too in a society like that lives a period of crisis like ours. Also, going on social media and being able to see something that makes you laugh is precious. And let's say that as society evolves, heart does too, and it always finds a new way to engage with people. And let's say yes, except.
How exactly does a meme actually convey emotion in this case?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
How does a meme convey emotions in this case?
Well, as I said, it can make you feel many kind of way. It doesn't just make you to laugh, it makes you reflect. Sometimes you see a meme, and just because we define it a meme doesn't mean that it has to make you laugh, because maybe at first you laugh at it and then you reflect, like, why did I laugh at it? It's such a deeper message. Why am I laughing? And I think that's important too. But let's go back to my speech. Once we had comics, which could be enjoyable to read, or also hide a deeper meaning behind those colorful masterpieces. Nowadays, people have found a brand new way to communicate their emotion and thoughts through memes, so we don't have to devaluate them just because of that. As I said, there's so much more. As Sophia, the first speaker of my team, said, they can also be used as a way of form of propaganda, the same way like political comics did in the 90s, for example. Yes. So therefore, we've proved to you through evidence that memes are the true demonstration of the evolution of art that is always progressive, the same way our society does. Thank you. This is the end of my speech.
Thank you. 8 minutes. Okay. Okay. Simone Savarese, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Before starting with the analytical part of my speech, I'd like to go against the appalling things that have been said by the proposition team. Because one of the first things that they decided to claim in their second speech is that they claim that the inherent definition of meme is a form of art. And that was the basis of their entire argument. You can't just run away with that and bring that as your only main point to state that the definition of meme is a form of art, therefore it should be considered as a form of art. Another thing that they decided to tell us is that it always and oftentimes does pose critical thinking to people, but we believe that that percentage is actually much lower, because yes, while it rarely does raise a question that poses critical thinking, oftentimes it does actually devolve into a brainless joke, as we see in 90% of our social media feeds. They can, in some cases, be used to inform, but you have to get in the minds of people actually producing the memes in this case, which in of themselves originated in the youth, most certainly not in people who are particularly news-oriented and that aim to inform people. One thing that the second speaker has stated in their speech is that memes have become an efficient form of art. The word efficient in this phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting, because you don't need to mass produce art. Art is supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to convey something, to create feelings in a person, not solely inform them or simply make them laugh. And even then, they fail to mechanize and give us a genuine reason on how these things convey emotions exactly. Also, just completely misrepresented the percentage of works made for fun and to inform, making the percentage of works made to inform much higher, instead of actually considering the audience that actually produces these memes. You're going to expect two main things from my speech. The first one, stating on how inputting memes in artists' culture means people would be stuck in the same fast-paced routine that today's fast content is in, and that the integration of memes and arts has an educational and social impact. But before going into my argumentative phase, I would like to state that what the first speaker has said, the first proposition speaker has stated that memes are used by the political figures to express ideas. And while they're used, it doesn't directly imply that the inclusion of memes as a form of art is, one, beneficial, or two, to be considered in any way whatsoever. Another thing that they stated in their speech is that any way to express your feelings in a form of art. Okay, let's flip this. Let's bring this to its logical extreme. School shooters express their feelings of hatred by killing kids in classrooms. Do you think that's a form of art? I think the answer is obvious. This is going to lead me directly to the argumentative part of my speech. The first claim is going to be that inputting memes in artist cultures means that people would be stuck in a fast-paced routine that doesn't go in line with what we want in today's art world. Because in the status quo, especially on socials, we're stuck in a stagnant loop of readily made short-form content slop that can easily be consumed in less than 30 seconds, thus making it extremely difficult to find any kind of highlightable features. Think of the Romans as a very broad example. Their art, their buildings stuck out to us. They're characteristic of a specific civilization, a specific era, or specific uses. While some artists today have even been forced by the ever-growing arts market to oversimplify their works. Being in an extremely fast mutating environment as an artist is already hard enough. And this is exactly why we oppose the consideration of memes as a form of art. We don't want to pollute the art world. Because by considering them art, we're inputting copious amounts of memes, and we lose the real duration, importance, and a genuine impact that some artistic works actually have, because they're fundamentally creatively driven, which is fundamental to art. By creating memes as legitimate art forms, we mechanize them. We mechanize them, and then we inherently mechanize creativity. We turn them into an algorithmically driven process of production and consumption. We don't want this in art. We don't want there to be a single audience that consumes the product and then it's gone forever. We need a long-lasting approach that doesn't just disappear after a few days. We need something that stays with the people. This mechanization in of itself strips away intentionality and emotional investment that traditionally defines art. Go ahead with your POI, I'm sorry.
No, yes, fine. Why would you say that it's just something that disappears in a few days if memes can be inspirational and also like suggest a deeper meaning, makes you reflect? The message doesn't go away in a few days. Like, how would you explain that?
I mean, memes in of themselves are based off a short form culture. So the meme itself is going to go out of style after a few days, which is something that happens to every single thing in today's modern pop culture. It gradually flows away and lets something else replace it, which is why we need constants. If we normalize memes as art, it stops being about true expression, but more about speed, replication. Even they, in their speech, said that art should be efficient. We don't need that, because memes are not only used to be funny, but to attract an audience. It goes against craftsmanship, education, innovation, and as a result, instead of elevating artistic culture, it lowers it to a halt. If we integrate them into the realm of art, we risk redefining today's digital attention economy, because instead of fostering any kind of innovation, we reward repetition, short-term visibility, which we do not desire in today's art world. Today's art should create trends, not conform to them until they completely go away. Because by elevating memes to the status of art, we risk valuing short-term over long-term artistic expression, inherently undervaluing its depth. Which directly leads me to my second claim, which states that the integration of memes in arts has an educational and social impact, which contributes to the radicalization of the youth. Because while some branches of memes remain harmless, some tend to devolve into exceedingly controversial topics. Some on the Charlie Kirk shooting, some on transgender rights. An example would be the Soy Jack, which is a caricature used to mock transgender individuals and any kind of progressives. The introduction of memes in art would lead to the creation of a platform to these people promoting these controversial memes themselves. As memes themselves are often promoted through short form, easily consumable memes, they reach a vast audience in minutes. This is something that, yes, can happen in many art forms, but in memes, which operate within a system of algorithms where content that provokes strong emotional reactions, which outrage, laughter, disgust, reach millions. And an example would be the birth of Black Pill itself, which is an alt-right movement which prioritizes a pessimistic worldview in which people only care for looks. Because it started as a meme, right? That originated from the red pill, blue pill from Matrix, but then devolved into a serious movement that at its latest claimed about 12 suicide from people who didn't consider themselves pretty enough to survive in society. Giving a platform to these people, introducing their memes into art would by injection lead to the diffusion of these ideals, because by repeat exposure, people would be completely desensitized to these ideals. We don't want this meme culture to make people use to shock value. And if these are the consequences of considering memes a form of art, this is why we are proud to oppose the motion. Thank you all for listening to my speech. I rest my case.
Thank you. Your speech is 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay. We can give the floor to Camilla.
Thank you. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. My name is Camilla Terenappi. I'm the third speaker of the proposition team, and I'm here to rebut what has been said by the opposition team. I would like to start by saying that not considering memes as a form of art is a symbol of a mentality that isn't progressing, because we've seen many times in history that it was very common to downplay and minimize form of arts that were diffused between the youth. We've seen it with the historical comics, as my team had said. We've also seen it with modern comics, such as the Marvel comics, because if we downplay the Marvel comics as just kids' books or teenage people books, we wouldn't see the messages that have been hidden between what's written in the lines, such as the racism that's portrayed in the X-Men comics, for example. It's very common to see that there's many instances in which children's books are actually made to teach them something and not just laugh at what's being said. Also, I would like to rebut what has been said by the first speaker of the opposition team, that saying that memes are a form of art would devalue art itself. I think that that's frankly steering away from the topic, because we can see that memes are just the evolution of our short form culture, like the second speaker of the opposition team said, because art is the only universal language we have, and it's evolving from time to time. We've seen it with like journals, we've seen it with the news. Art is always evolving and trying to adapt to the newest way of communication. And now the newest way of communicating is throughout social media. And memes are the only way we have to share art in social media in a different way than it can be portrayed in many other ways, such as comics that can be shared in other ways, such as by publicizing them, by publishing them, or by putting them in the news, etc. But in social media, the only thing that we can say that is different from the other forms of art that can be diffused in other ways is memes in themselves. I think that we can all say that bricolage is considered an art. What is bricolage if not putting artistical elements such as photos together to make you feel a certain way about them and making you feel emotions that you wouldn't feel if you saw the photos separated from one another. So that's what a meme is. You see a picture that probably isn't taken from the person that published it. We see a sentence written on top of it. That's a way of expressing the author of the meme. So why is bricolage considered an art if it's just putting artistical elements together, but a meme isn't? Also, I would like to say that the opposition team stated that memes are just making fun of something, but that's just what satire is. And satire is considered a form of art because that's a way of communicating and making you think critically about actual issues that you see on the actual events that are happening in the world. Also, diminishing art and monetary problems that were brought on by the first speaker, I don't think that's the issue that we see, because no one is paying to see memes. No one is paying to use the internet that they would have anyway. No one is paying to open TikTok. No one is paying to go to that specific person's profile, etc. So I don't see why how memes are taking away money from artists, from other type of artists. I think that there isn't a problem behind the fact that memes are considered superficial, because, as I said before, diminishing art is not the way that we have to let it progress naturally. Also, the first speaker couldn't answer on why his opinion wasn't the definition that he was using for art. He stated that our definition of memes contained the word art, so we couldn't say that that was the definition of a meme. But then he was just trying to say that his opinion on what a meme is was the only thing that could say what a meme is and what a form of art is. The second speaker of the opposition team said that there are many more brainless jokes than there are actual memes that make you think critically about political issues, for example. I think that that's not a way of measuring what a form of art is and what isn't a form of art. Because, for example, if many people drew pointless stuff in like a couple years, and there were only a few drawings that could actually communicate something, would we say that drawing isn't anymore a form of art? He also said that memes were mass-produced, so they weren't efficient because art shouldn't be produced so quickly, and it shouldn't be spread so much. Art should communicate something, but I also think that, as the second speaker of the opposition team said, now we're living in a state that has a short form culture. So art is just trying to fit in what the trend is. Art is trying to tell people actual critical thinking problems in the way that is more socially acceptable and is the only way that most young people are actually trying to learn something. Um, he also said that the fact that political parties use memes doesn't mean they're art. I would say that we aren't saying that memes are a form of art because political parties use them. But then he also said that memes don't make you critically think about something, they just try to make you laugh. But why would political parties use memes just to make people laugh? I don't see why political parties would just try to to make young people laugh. They're trying to make them critically think about actual problems. They're trying to spread their ideas in a way that most young people will understand, in a way that most people will actually stop, listen, and critically think to. He also talked about the Black Pill movement and about how the idea of beauty was deformed by a meme that existed. I would like to talk about Aphrodite, which obviously is a goddess that has been represented in many ways throughout our history, and how her depiction changed the way people perceived beauty. So, would you say that any depiction of Aphrodite isn't a form of art? I would like to end my speech by saying that the word is beautiful because it's different, and the only universal language we have is art. So art is beautiful because there's many depictions of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Your speech is 8 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. Francesco, are you ready? You can start.
Yeah, just give me one moment. Okay. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. I'm Francesco Miele from Liceo Carciopoli in Naples, speaking as the third speaker for the opposition team on the motion, "This House considers meme as a form of art." My role today is to reinforce our case, address the proposition claims, and demonstrate why our arguments are stronger. Let's start by, first of all, addressing the definition confusion. The proposition teams claims that memes are art because they are the use of imagination to convey ideas. But let's stop for a moment, really, and analyze this claim. This definition is vague, insufficient, and misleading. Simply using imagination or expressing ideas does not automatically qualify as art. By their logic, even a casual text message, a social media post, or a viral video could be labeled as art. Clearly, this is absurd. Art is intentional, skillful, and emotionally impactful. Not simply a way to amuse or communicate briefly. That's the whole point. Their definition fails to recognize these fundamental qualities. Then we have the burden of proof that was one of the biggest points in their argument. The proposition fails to prove why memes should be considered art at this point. They assert that memes convey emotion, but they do not demonstrate how this qualifies really as art. Memes are mostly entertainment, designed to amuse or inform quickly people. They lack intentionally skill and culturally depth, which are essential the most important quality of art. Their own examples, including memes for money or political purposes, do not meet the standards of emotional or cultural impact. Then we have the fact that we have to understand really their logic. The proposition claims that any way to express feelings is art. Using their logic, we can flip this to show this absurdity. Not all expressions equals to art. If it did, memes, social media posts, or even harmful acts, as the second speaker said, could be called art. This demonstrates that their definition is too broad and fails to uphold the standards of artistic value. That's the biggest point that we have to analyze. Then they talked about the historical perspective. Let's consider at this point the fact that in Greek and Roman times, art was the deliberate tool to express feelings and ideas through paintings, sculptures, theater and poetry, etc. Every kind of form of art. Every piece required skilled cultural knowledge and then an intentional effort to provoke reflection or emotional response. Comedy, which evolved into comics at this point of our history, including even during World War I, was used strategically for propaganda or social commentary, not solely just for this kind of entertainment. It carried out cultural weight and historical context. Memes, in contrast, are simply the modern evolution of comics, but they are fast, mass-produced, and primarily... yeah, go ahead with it, PRI.
So if you're saying that memes are the evolution of comics, wouldn't you say that they're the evolved form of art than the comics were?
Okay, thank you for the question. As I was saying, they are some kind of evolution, but you have to understand that they are fast, mass-produced, and primarily intended for a quick communication or amusement. They do not carry the same cultural, historical, or emotional depth that the traditional art forms and provides. Now, let's do a comparison to traditional masterpieces. We must ask ourselves at this point, are we seriously putting something like Guernica, a profound reflection of human suffering, on the same level as a simple meme? Art is not just about expressing feelings. It is carefully crafted to create a lasting emotional impact, provoke thought, and reflect society or culture. Memes, by contrast, as we already said, often devolve into brainless jokes, shallow humor, or a viral kind of content with no deeper purpose at this point. They may occasionally inform, but the majority are designed to immediate consumption and entertainment, not for emotional resonance or cultural reflection. Then we have the functionality versus the artistic value. The proposition argues that memes are efficient forms of art, but art is not meant to be efficient. Its value does not lie in speed or mass consumption. True art aims to evoke feelings, create reflection, and leave a lasting impact. Memes are mass-produced and easily copied, lacking the cultural background or a technical skill required in a traditional art form. Anyone can create a meme, but painting a masterpiece, writing a poem, or composing music requires practice, intentionality, and cultural literacy. Efficiency alone cannot be just the criteria for art. It is, in fact, just the opposite at this point. We have to understand that there is the depth and the care that define genuine artistic work. Then they talk about the political usage. Memes are often used by political figures, that's true, to express their messages. However, usage alone does not make something art, nor does it justify elevating memes into the realm of this kind of artistic culture. If we follow that logic, that any way to express feeling at this point is art, then extreme or even violent actions could theoretically be classified as an artistic expression. For example, as we already said, a school shooter expressing hatred cannot be considered an artistic creation. Their logic collapses when applied consistently. Moreover, memes originate largely in youth culture and are typically designed for humor or virality, not thought through reflection. The proposition has yet to provide a mechanism showing how memes really consistently convey emotions or meaning in the same way as traditional arts, as we already said, such as a painting as Guernica. Their argument is largely an assertion without proof. Then we have the fact that we have to understand that the proposition claims meme are art because they use imagination to convey ideas. That was the whole main point. But we have just to get into this kind of conversation and truly understand that artists have skill, technique, and cultural impact. We show that memes are surely impactful in our society, but they do not represent what an artistic thought is or what anyone could even. If I try to express a feeling, that doesn't mean that I'm being an artist. That means that I'm just trying to convey what I think. But artists are different. Artists use skill, and obviously they think, they have a bad thought about what they do. And with that, I conclude my speech.
Thank you. Your speech is 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay. We can. Okay. We can go on with the opposition. Aye.
Whenever the judges are ready, I can start. Okay. So, my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Let me just say that this has been a wonderful debate, but as is with every debate, we've identified some contrasting points. Because while our side stated that memes shouldn't be considered art because they risk harming the youth that consumes it, and their side says that memes are art because they can teach and communicate ideas effectively. But we win this because our evidence simply speaks louder. We brought forward the example of the Black Pill movement, which originated from a meme and spiraled into a dangerous ideology which promotes beauty at its maximum exponent, causing real harm and claiming real lives. This proves that memes in any of their forms are not neutral or purely educational. They can potentially radicalize, desensitize, and emotionally damage someone. By broadening the definition, you're making discriminatory and horrid works, which often spout racially charged agenda, part of art. And by even letting the lightest of, let's say, black-pilled or extremist memes reach the pedestal that art is, we legitimize these dangerous narratives and basically insult the artists who actually dedicate themselves to depth-filled artistic works. We win this clash because our side protects the youth, where theirs exposes them to risk under the false banner of promoting creativity. Our side also stated that art should regain authenticity, meaning, and also a sense of permanence, while their side says that memes are equal to any other art form and should be valued the same way. But we win this because memes lack intentionality. They lack longevity. They're produced en masse. They're recycled endlessly, and they disappear within days, which is a direct contradiction to what art at its core stands for. The mechanization of meme culture prioritizes speed and virality over any kind of originality that stems from art in of itself. Memes, in contrast, are the byproduct of the attention economy, which is something that we do not want to integrate into the artistic world. Our side states that art should convey emotion, provoke thought, and express the human condition. They says that art should be efficient, but historically, art's purpose has always been emotional and philosophical. Why change that for the topic of this debate? Memes simply strip that away. Their world is completely, radically, and polarly different from ours because they claim that recognizing memes as art will make it more inclusive, accessible, and reflective of modern society. But accessibility without any kind of responsibility leads inevitably to chaos. because their world promotes a culture where anything, no matter how hateful, shallow, anything, it can be called art. And this doesn't democratize art, it devalues it, because you're letting inherently racist works get out there and have an audience. Their outcomes in their world include youth exposure to radical extremist ideologies, the trivialization or historicality of the works themselves, and a polluted creative environment because the memes are produced in such high quantities. While in our world, we prove that separating art from meme culture protects creativity. It encourages depth, and it encourages the development of actual art. Our world values intentionality over the simple instant gratification of today's content. We nurture artistic growth. We fuel it in every way we can. And blurring the lines between art and not art is inherently dangerous to the youth. But at the end of this debate, I would want the judges to choose a world where art retains its meaning, where it doesn't lose it, where creativity is nurtured and fueled responsibly, and where the youth are protected from any kind of radicalization disguised as funny humor. Thank you all for listening. I hope to have convinced you to vote opposition.
Thank you. Your speech is 4 minutes, 3:59.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. My speech will start in 1, 2, 3. Okay, good evening. What we witnessed in this debate is not just a disagreement about memes, but it's actually a disagreement about what the word art means in the modern society. Okay, so we have very different points of view on many aspects. First of all, the opposition team argued with our definition of the word art, which was given to us directly from the Oxford Dictionary, and that states that art is the use of imagination to express ideas or feelings. It doesn't matter how hard work there is behind it, it's just the thought of the use of imagination to express emotions. And this is the fundamental point. Also, their side affirms that we should protect the youth from memes. Their whole team line is based on fear. They fear that considering memes a form of art could devalue the meaning of the word art itself. And also the side feel that we should protect the youth from memes, while they're just confirming our ideas that refusing to recognize memes as a form of art is a sign of a mentality that is not progressing. Memes are the sign that art is always evolving as our society is. And we cannot just not accept a form of art because it's new. Otherwise, our society will be years backward in many aspects of our progress. Also, their side supports that art should not communicate harmful agendas such as the Black Pill movement, or they say that it causes suicide. First of all, these kind of movements are not only passed on by memes, but on social media in general. So are we saying that social media are harmful because they can promote these kind of messages? Is not something that it's only correlated to memes, and I think that our teams prove that well. Also, our side support that art should not be censored in any way, but should be admired with critical thinking. They said that harmful art is not meant to be efficient. That it's not meant. First of all, they said that art is means a lack of critical thinking, so it cannot be considered a kind of art. And then they said that art shouldn't be efficient, contradicting themselves. And also, in a way, maybe suggesting that forms of art that have been efficient to educate the youth, not only to promote hurtful messages, but to educate the youth, like political cartoons, are not a form of art just because they're efficient. And this seems pretty weird to us, to our teams. They take the symbols, memes take the symbols and language of our times, and they remix them to reflect the society we live in. they say that they can be childish or stupid or not meaningful, but that's not true at all. Often they do this in a humorous, ironic, or creative way, but that doesn't make them any less important. To express a message, making them a form of art, to express the artist's feelings. And yes, our site supports that any type of art should be considered true. It should always be seen truthfully, analyzing how much we agree with it. So would you rather live in a world where some kind of art are considered like they think they should be censored just because they induce critical thinking, or live in a world in which all kind of art, especially the ones that prove the progress of our society, should be considered important in any way? Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Your speech is 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay. Congratulations to everyone to finish this debate. Okay. Now we judges are going into another room, and then we are back with the feedback. Ok. Interrompo anche la registrazione.